Yo, I got a story for you. It's a bit of a sad one, really, but it's got a message behind it and it's important. That's why I'm telling it. We in the West, because we sort of figured out physical comfort and we got that down and we sort of took over a lot of the world, we sort of seem to think we've got everything figured out, yet many parts of our society are hugely fucking broken. And there does seem to be an agenda to attack men, probably because if there's going to be a revolution, it'll be started by men. It'll be started by strong, pissed off men that have had a fuck enough. So, there seems to be an agenda against men. If I'm going to give you this story right now, it's kind of sad, right? But it's got a meaning. So, it starts out happy. I decided I'm going to go travelling, and I have an amazing time. Before I went travelling, I had a pretty good circle of mates. You know, we were bros, literally. We had our own little gang, and, that was it. We had our ups and downs, and shit happened, but it always does. But we were still, relatively connected. And there was a few friends I had that were men that were outside of this, core group. So anyway, I go for 3 years. Have the time of my life, still encounter some challenges, but then I come back. What the fuck happened to all my friends? It wasn't just that some moved away and got on with their life, which is fine, and I don't even know how some of them are doing. But I made a list, and I had about 20 of my old friends, and I went through what state they were in, and I sort of categorized them, where they were when I left, and had they improved? Had they stayed exactly the fucking same? Or had they gone backwards? And I shit you not, only 2 out of about 20, I think it was just over 20 of my old bros had actually improved their station in life in 3 years. And they were doing good, actually. Of the 2 who did, they'd got shit sorted out. One had got, he started his own business and he'd got and that was going really well, and I actually worked for him for a little bit when I got back, and he'd got a wife and was talking about kids, and he'd got himself established, and he was doing really well, especially compared to when I left him, when he was working for someone else and whatever. And then another friend was doing super well on the online world with music, and I was so inspired to see that, especially how I gave him a lot of encouragement back in the day when we were teenagers on doing entrepreneurship with music. So I was really inspired to see that. About 4 had just basically stayed the same. We're doing the same shit, smoking weed all day, and not really having changed much at all. Not even the way they speak or anything they speak about, what they do. But it's not progressing, but it's not as bad as regressing. And I shit you not, I went through all of my friends, apart from the 6 of 2 progressed, 4 neutral. Of the rest, they had all regressed, some quite dramatically. Many had developed addictions to hard drugs that weren't there before I'd left. One had actually killed himself, and it wasn't too long after me actually being back. The second time, another friend killed himself. So I've had 2 close friends to my, both younger than me, kill themselves. Both men, both white, both straight. If that means anything. Because it's supposed to be really easy for white straight men. But yeah, all of my other friends had regressed. Hard drugs, getting arrested, not progressing in life, and quite a few had their lives fallen apart. And it was so sad to actually come back to that after being on such a high for being away. But I had to go away because I wasn't in a good place before I left, and I had to go away and do this for myself to come back to be able to be of service to humanity. But I do think about how if I'd never left, how I could have been a positive influence on some of my other brothers. But if I'm not in a good space, and I can't do that forever, and I'm not a good example, and there we are. So it's just a story highlighting it's not fucking easy being a man in this world. And if you can be a successful man in this world, though, the rewards are bountiful, plentiful, endless, abundance. We live in the age of abundance, and it really is an amazing time to be alive, but it's a soul-crushing time to be alive. It's hard, especially if you're a fucking man. You got to make something of yourself. You got to build up your worth and your value. The saying you're perfect as you are, I don't really think that applies to men, in the fact that you've really got to work on yourself. You've really got to be someone of value, and you've got to be able to handle the emotional fuckery that comes with being in the West in this time. I don't think suicide was such an issue in the past. I'm not sure exactly, but it seems to be getting worse, right? And to have lost 2 friends to suicide, it hits home, man. So I'm pro men. I think that if we have strong, healthy, balanced men that are physically strong but also mentally strong and emotionally can handle themselves, then we're in a really good place. And then if those men get educated and realise how the system is fucking them in every way possible, then we can maybe be in a better position to do something about it. Or at the very least, enough of us could come together and create a better world for everyone who wishes to create a better life for themselves. Because some people, no doubt, are sort of happy in the Matrix, but then it's not to say that we might in the future lead to some form of a revolution. Let's see. I mean, we really need to evolve as a whole, our consciousness, our level of being, before we be any place, any sort of position to remove the current leadership and replace it with something better. And I've seen it firsthand in the anti-COVID activist movement. We were not ready to lead the country, even though Boris and friends were doing a terrible job. And I can only imagine what chaos and anarchy would have happened had we stormed into Parliament and just hung all of the politicians that put us into lockdown. Then fucking what? Then we have to all come together and agree on everything, or at least enough to be able to run a country. I mean, who the fuck's going to do that? So, there's a lot to this, and I've thought about it a lot, and I started this video speaking about men's mental health, and I think it is absolutely crucial. And it's tough being a man in this world, but it is something that if you can hack it, if you can become strong, and also if you find the right people around you, if you have the right networks, if you have the people that are sort of geared in the right direction, then you can live a life and you don't have to be addicted to drugs like I have been, like my friends have been, like some still are. Though I'm not in touch with many people now that I used to be in touch with, and that's a shame, but that's life. You meet new people and you move on and you sort of become a different person, and if those other people you used to hang out with aren't sort of changing and growing, then it's never going to work. But never mind. I just thought I'd make this video because I also have something coming up in the distant future, not too far, but there's things I want to do to raise awareness for men's mental health, and also have some maybe practical solutions and ideas on how to improve it. I mean, right now I have loads of stuff on my website that's geared around personal development and spiritual evolution, and I'm creating guided meditations now. That's something I'm really getting into. Going to be geared onto geared up for all sorts of different things on how to become a better person. But then specifically for men, I have some really interesting projects coming up, but that's going to take some months to materialize. But just in general, to have people that are more personally developed, that know themselves better, that are more open to the spiritual side of things, because I think that's where our greatest power is. And people that know their mind and are physically fit and active and have a good exercise routine, and also just doing the basic stuff to keep themselves healthy, but then get educated on what's going on in this world, that they can actually then start to create a world outside of the Matrix in every single way that they can. And I'm a living example of how you can do that. Although I'm still progressing and still learning and still growing in so many ways, it's such a journey. It's been 10 years, and my journey out of the Matrix was fucking traumatic at the beginning, and I made some crazy decisions and did some crazy shit, and it was very painful for 2 years at the most, at the minimum. But then life in many ways got progressively better, and I've essentially in so many ways transcended the Matrix. I've still got a few little boxes left to tick and to say that I'm completely sort of outside, but I don't just mean going off grid, because although that's good, I do think that's slightly outdated, and it wouldn't work in as much as it limits your capability. Unless you are somehow generating a lot of money, then you can maybe build a huge community, and you can really maximize your potential there. But if you're just going to cut off the rest of the world and not make much money and just be in your own little bubble, that's fine. That's actually better than what most of humanity are living at. But I mean, personally, for me, I can see the greater potential of what can be done with a more, let's say, a different approach that involves transcending the Matrix rather than just sort of escaping it. But yeah, that's my journey, and I props to everyone who's going off grid. It's better than what most are doing. But I can see that if my journey continues the way it does, and I'm able to manifest a life of huge financial abundance, I can then use that money to further increase the evolution of humanity. And I think a huge part of that would be helping men. So big ups to the men who've got this far in this video. We have to lead the way, be that pillar, that strong beacon of light and strength, and let's create a better world. Big ups.